talk about pure risk, that's Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. So this is really a momentum-based trade. Generally has very high correlation relative to the S&P. We had a very nice rally over the last couple of weeks with the S&P. So again, as the S&P was rallying, it was risk on. Bitcoin is a great risk on asset for a measure. It's also beginning to weaken, triggering a sell signal along with the S&P. So here's what you need to know before the bell this morning. We're going to look at some interesting charts this morning. So again, the S&P, as we talked about yesterday, hasn't really gone anywhere for about 2 weeks now. We just consolidated sideways. Nothing really exciting going on with the markets. The one thing to pay attention to is that we will trigger today. So the markets are expected to open down this morning. S&P's down about 19 points right now for the open. If we do crack today and we don't recover, if the market's in negatively today, we will trigger this MACD sell signal. That suggests that we're likely going to continue to get some weaker pricing in the markets over the next week or so. This 20-day moving average has risen now. It's sitting right below the market. So again, there's some initial support even on today's decline. This is going to be a test of the 20-day. The question will be whether or not the market can hold that 20-day like it did previously when we were having this rally at the beginning of the year. We just ran right along that 20-day moving average. So this will be the first test of the 20-day moving average here to see if that provides that initial support for the overall market. The one thing that we kind of look at is other risk assets, risk-based, assets that really kind of focus on risk. We're working off this overbought condition on the S&P, which that's good. But the sell signal may prove a little bit problematic here short term for higher prices. But if we look at other risk assets as well, when you talk about pure risk, that's Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. So this is really a momentum-based trade. Generally has very high correlation relative to the S&P. We had a very nice rally over the last couple of weeks with the S&P. So again, as the S&P was rallying, it was risk on. Bitcoin is a great risk on asset for a measure. It's also beginning to weaken, triggering a sell signal along with the S&P. So again, you're starting to see these kind of correlations between these assets. Here's Ethereum. Ethereum just got a big pop a couple of days ago because of the expected approval of ETFs by the SEC for Ethereum. That will happen, right? So everybody's kind of waiting for the ETFs to get issued. It's getting ready. It's starting to roll over here, getting close to triggering a sell signal. Not as close as Bitcoin, but starting to work in that direction as well. So when you start looking at other risk on assets, we're seeing that kind of same environment. Crude oil's been bottoming here as well. It's already had a big correction, and again, kind of economically sensitive across the board is oil, but it's coming up on a little bit of a buy signal. So we may see a little bit of buying moving into oil prices here in the short term just because of this kind of oversold condition. We'll see. Take a look at risk on assets across the board. They're starting to show that signal that we may see a little bit more weakness in the market before we get another rally. That's what you need to know before the bell this morning.